And with the training that we've done along the way has been instrumental in our growth trajectory, both personally and professionally. I mean, I was able to from an introverted person back when I first started out in the hospitality industry to now, night and day. I mean, now I can go talk to people freely and introduce myself, who I am. Before that, I was never able to do that. So I was able to come out of my shell. And then with that, and of course, we're talking to salespeople here. So why sales, Carice?
Why sales? Well, Jeff, I mean, I echo what you just said. It definitely has helped me bring me out of my shell because I was very quiet, subdued. I still am to a point, but it just helped me, grow to as well in speaking. Why sales? Jeff, honestly, one of the things I love about sales is the fact that I am able to meet new people and to build relationships. And, whether once again with clients or even with global sales or just colleagues in general, you never know who you're going to come across in an industry. There's so many people that I have worked with in the past that have moved around and you end up working with them again. So it's great. Relationships is so key in sales as we go along. And just building that. As I mentioned, why sales? Hey, we have lots of great perks. Travel is definitely one of them, with my passion being traveling. You do get to experience new cities, new places, people in general, just different opportunities. And sales, I do think there's a lot of opportunities to advance in sales. And as I mentioned before, it's so fast paced. It suits me like what I am. I'm so fast paced, always wanting to learn and grow. And I think I have that opportunity within sales. What about you? Tell us, how did you get into IHG and why IHG, I should say?
Yeah, of course. On our conversation just a little earlier in IHG and all the benefits of working for IHG, really, it's the culture, the opportunity for growth, and not necessarily moving up the ladder, but more towards like a lateral growth. It's all about lateral growth now because, sales this is what we do in sales, but then everybody sells, as you know. And one of the things that that IHG has actually given me or provided me with the opportunity is really the opportunity to learn from different departments or different sides of sales. I mean, we have the global sales part, we have the commercial sales part. I mean, there are many different areas of growth within IHG on the corporate side, both ultimately, and it's the same way with on property as well, because I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't work on property. So I mean, there's not necessarily any difference, but there's minute differences or similarities between the two. Because if I wanted to, because I've been in sales for quite some time, and was able to really grow within the industry, I was able to learn different things along the way. And ultimately, sales I always come back to it because it's the one thing that I love to do. I never get bored of it, and I wake up thinking I don't go to work. I wake up thinking, okay, I get to connect with different people today. What's our conversation going to be like? And we have such an amazing support system within IHG that I'm proud to work for IHG passionately. Okay, and then so from there, I just wanted to just kind of go into, because you're 16 years with Intercontinental, 25 plus with hospitality. We've learned a lot along the way. Our journey has given us this opportunity to speak to a lot of people, and I thought we'd provide some keys to success per se to our audience here. And we've listed a few, but I wanted Carice to highlight a few things that she thought maybe were important to note.
Sure. I mean, for me, as I think I mentioned earlier before, one thing I think this pandemic has taught us is honestly being agile, being willing to learn anything. I mean, I think we watch our industry fall apart in the last year to say, and you've had to learn to be quick on your toes and try to find different ways to think outside of the box to move ahead and willing to learn. For me, I've always been a business travel sales manager, but during the pandemic, I've had to learn different market segments in order for me to be successful throughout the pandemic and to as we go into recovery. It's always learning different things. So, I mean, willing to learn definitely is one of those things. You know, relationships are so important once again, because without these relationships, you don't really get more out of people or move forward in there. I think it's so key being in sales. Do you want to share a few that's important to you, Jeff?
Yeah, of course. Actually, and I mentioned earlier about being open to feedback, because this is your opportunity to shine. This is your opportunity to learn. What are you, what you're made of. So there are people that when they're provided feedback for opportunities, you either give up and go on to the next, or learn from it, improve on it, and succeed. I mean, ultimately, we want to succeed in life. So be open to feedback. That's one thing that I highly recommend. And of course, build genuine relationship. That's the one thing that I think I do well. The You don't get to become a trusted advisor by like at the first go. You need to prove yourself. And how do you do that? By providing different solutions for your clients' different pain points, providing honest feedback, honest, I guess, retort towards the subject, and be genuine in what you do. Be very transparent. Be honest, and connect with them. On initially, you'll be very, very timid to meet a brand new client of yours, brand new client. I mean, the one thing that I don't know if I can say this, Ashley, but when I first connected with Ashley from CPSA, I was timid, and I did my homework. And it's like, what does CPSA do? What's important to them? What do they do as a company or as an organization? What's their output really? So I got to learn all that stuff, and I because of my history, I knew what they did, so I had that to fall back on. But all that knowledge, so how do you bring that to them? How do you tailor your message to them? So you get to know them on a personal level, find out what's important, and then really progress your conversation from that point. I mean, for the first time I met with them was in Toronto this year, amazingly enough, and it felt like old friends. So that's how you get to that point. So you connect with them on a personal level, know what their company do, or what they want to be and what's important to them, and then talk about it, get to know them on a personal level, and then have a candid conversation on how, because we work in hospitality, it's all about market share. And then the other thing that I know we talked about this, Carice, was that be open to networking. I mean, from those good old days of being timid and only talking to the people that you know, to now talking to people that you don't know because you want to know them. That's the one thing that I highly stress. Be comfortable in the
Participate in lots
uncomfortable.
of, I was going to say, participate in lots of different networking opportunities as you would come along to as well,
Yeah,
especially within
exactly.
our industry. Yes.
Yeah, and then show your passion. I mean, I show my passion every day, and but every day is not always an on day, but you're allowed to have those days. But when you're on, be on and be passionate in what you do, and be very, very patient, because I think you have a story that on one of your contracts that you've dealt with. So I thought maybe that's something that you can
Oh
share.
yeah, definitely. So there was one particular account that I started working on. I'm going to actually put dates in there so you can tell you how long and how patient you have to be. So back in 2008, I started going after an account that's big here in Toronto. And all throughout 2008, moving forward, I've consistently been going after them, maintaining that relationship, building that relationship here in Canada and in the US. And finally, in 2020, they accepted our hotel. So it took 12 years of me going after them to finally get in there. And of course, I get hit with a pandemic, but there's always recovery. And as we go into recovery, hopefully I start seeing more. But it did take 12 years for me to get into their program. So patience is definitely one of those things. Don't just give up the first time that you get rejected, because you're going to constantly get rejected in sales. People are always saying no. You can get that yes or you can get that no. So you have to be able to handle the rejection as well as the acceptances, and then grow from these things.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that one of the learnings that I got from that, Carice, was that you know it's all about the follow up. I mean, you'll hear this numerous times: is follow up, follow up, follow up. And with certain accounts, I think there's data out there that you'll be talking to 13 different people within an organization before you get a yes. So, I mean, know who the stakeholders are, speak their language, because oftentimes they're either in finance or in procurement or in business services. And so each of those individual or each of those clients have different KPIs or key performing indicators that are important to them, because that's how they measure success. Really, is that how are they to their target or to their goals at the end of the year. And so how we communicate with each of those is also highly important. So get to know what's important to the company, what's important to really the department, and what's important to the person themselves, because that's how you'll get there. And speak their language, tailor your message to that point. And I think I would be also remiss not to say, be willing to learn. I mean, I learn every day. I mean, I learn numerous times. I have my coaching sessions with my leader. I have my one-on-one with my leader. I have all these things. And then, of course, I'm also talking to different people in different industries, because what they bring to the table can help me, right?
Yes.
So with that, I thought we'd open this up to some Q&A, Lila. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can.
Yeah, so let's do some questions. We received a few questions for you all. So our first question is, how has hospitality sales evolved over the past few years?
Okay, well, I can answer that, Chris, and then maybe you can add on if you like. So hospitality sales. I think when I first started in sales, it was all about benefit selling. You know, what differentiates you from your competitor. And then as sales evolved, we went into relationship building, more experiential selling, all these things. And now it's all about solutions-based selling. Of course, so for solution-based sales selling, it's how are you answering the pain points of your clients, because their KPI or key performing indicators are their overarching top three typically are, especially in hospitality, is compliance, risk mitigation, and the health and safety of their travelers. So how are you answering those or solving those pain points for them? And you have to provide a solution. And I think you don't get to that point until you find out what's really important and what are their goals. So get to know their goals, find a solution, tailor your message to you, to bring it back to you or to the company, and this is how we can solve your pain points. Carice, what do you think?
Well, mine is a little bit different in the sense of on property, we've seen a lot of changes with sales. I mean, your traditional sales have changed because as people and industries have evolved, like for example, I find now with like duty of care is very important to travelers. So for us on a sales point of view, you have to make sure that what your guests are needing, you're having to adapt to the needs of your travelers as well, and how we sell and what we're be able to offer to our guests. That's how I see it on the evolving side of the sales aspect of it, like changing with your clients' needs as well.
Great, thank you. We have another question. So how do you think the hospitality sales or hospitality industry in general will change in the coming years?
Wow, that's a big question, Lila. Looking at my crystal ball, I think we'll continue to be, because sales is constantly evolving. And during the pandemic, we've been reactive, and now that we know we have some data behind us and some best practices that we've shared amongst the community, we'll be able to be a little bit more proactive. So I think to be successful in what we do now, we're still at that stage where we're solving for the client's requirements, and then of course really have them thinking about their travelers themselves. What's going to happen to the traveler themselves? Like what's their behavior? So really finding out what their behaviors are and what's important to the travelers themselves and to the client ultimately, and solving for that. I think that's where sales is going to go into. I think there'll be more. I don't know. You kind of have to be at a table to solve a lot of these challenges and become a trusted advisor for them. So I think it's going to be more solving ultimately in one word or less. Carice, what do you think?
I think it's just evolving with the changing times too as well, because we're resilient right now in hospitality sales at this point in time, but we know that the next few years, even though we were down, we're going to be up and very busy and having to meet all the expectation of our clients and growing with them as well.
Great. That was a difficult question to answer, so thank you. Appreciate answering that. So there are a few people that would like to know what your day-to-day or week-to-week looks like in your jobs.
Of course. Carice, do you want to start that off?
Sure. So for me, week to week, so my focus is business travel, which is a market that has been impacted heavily with the pandemic. So I've had to focus on different markets. But now as we're getting back into business, is that I work closely with our operations team because I don't really, my travelers are the ones that's coming into the hotel. I don't get to know some of them on a one-to-one basis, but also now with lower occupancies, I am able to reach out to travelers and interact with them a little bit more. So my day-to-day is just reaching out, looking for new opportunities for sales and for new sales opportunities for clients and doing that. Also, for me, looking at the revenue aspect of things as well, because you're always looking at how to grow current accounts and finding out what's going on with your clients itself and with travel too as well, and learning. Honestly, on a weekly basis, I'm constantly learning new things, new accounts, whether it's me doing different webinars or even talking to Jeff or and his team, because I'm always learning from them as they're like the first contact with some of our clients, because I'm on a property level. So we're always interacting with global sales to see, what's new with the clients, what's going on, and just thinking ahead and like planning for the future.
For me, Lila, really, it's because I work on a global scale. I have a set of account portfolio, and so how on my day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, really ultimately is identifying key segments or key accounts that are currently traveling, and and of course, within that, what segments are traveling? So you identify, because we do total account management from groups and meetings to projects to incentives to business travel, pretty much everything that touches travel and with regards to hotel, I'm responsible for. So by identifying certain accounts that are certainly traveling now, um, and what segments they are, then that's my target. How do I get to in front of them? How do I get them? How do I introduce them to our hotels? Because I don't sell one hotel. I sell over 6,000 hotels globally on a global scale. So really, identifying key markets that are that my clients are traveling to, and then identifying whether it's project related, whether it's training and development, whether it business travel or any of that, and then I connect with the key decision makers. And again, because there are over 13 stakeholders that actually make a decision on travel, I try to expand my network that way. Really expand your network within that account, so that they know who you are, and that you are currently working. There's a partnership between IHG and that account, and then from there, connect with if it's project related, connect with the project leader, project manager, project coordinator, and tell them that we work closely with your travel team. This is what we bring to the table. We know that this project is slated for this market. It's going to go on for this long. We've identified hotels along your project site, and really solving for their needs, because that's one less that they need to worry about, because oh, perfect, they know this is what we're doing, this is what these are the hotels that we're working on. Done. I can concentrate on other things. And then of course I constantly connect with my colleagues, because I love to hear some best practices that they've done differently, because that's the only way that we'll be able to learn and grow. And then connect with hotels like Carice. I mean, I'm constantly connecting with the on-property sellers, because there are different nuances to every market. Each hotel is different. So I want to know what differentiates them from what their competitors are, because I mean, I don't know what our hotel is in, say, God knows wherever in the globe, because they're the experts on a local level. So I rely heavily on our local hotels to provide me with some insights.
Thank you. That sounds very interesting and exciting, and there seems to be never a dull moment.
No, that's for sure.
So that's great, though. Keeps things really interesting. All right. So we have a next question. I believe you touched a little bit upon it during the presentation, but where is your journey going to take you next?
Oh, well, my boss is on the line, so I don't know. For me to go that route into more the director of sales for the country, or actually, I'm actually also interested in different side of sales, where it's not necessarily just about moving up the ladder, but more I've been mentioned about lateral move into a different side of sales that I may be interested in, and that's one thing that I'm trying to get myself into, is really expand my horizon and expand my network, and further enhance my brand, my personal brand. And I think, Carice, you mentioned, we talked about this earlier too today.
Yes, you did. And for me, I would actually like to move into like a global sales role after this. I think, selling one property is great, but it's a great challenge to sell 6,000 properties. So it just expands your selling skills a little bit more too as well. Yes.
Great. All right. Second to last question. So they would like to know, how could they get started with a job in the hospitality industry or sales industry? What would you recommend?
Okay. First of all, because we're with IHG, we want you to work for IHG. And the first thing that my recommendation is really to go into ihg.careers.com and register yourself in as a user. Then that way, and you can see different postings, both on the on property side and on the corporate side. And my suggestion, because we have over 200 hotels in Canada, in every province, try getting into on property first. I mean, I started out in food and beverage. You don't necessarily have to start out in, I mean, I have a colleague that started out as a sales coordinator because she wanted to kind of start there and get the day-to-day and understand what sales really does. And now she's in global sales. So I think each of our journey is a little bit different. So ask yourself, where do you want to start? Where do you want to start, and how do you want to learn to get to the next level where you want to be? Ultimately, I had a 30, 60, 90-day plan. Then I had a 1, 5, 10 plan, 10-year plan, and now really my next plan is what's going to be like within the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and I know for a fact I will be in hospitality. Carice, what about you? What's your suggestion? Because you're on property, so I think
I'm on property, and I would suggest actually starting off in operations before going on to sales, because it's really easy to sell in sales, but at the same time, when you do have that operations background, you do have that credibility of knowing what's really going on in the background. That's my path of things, how I think it is, because for me, I started off at front desk, so I learned a lot about different departments when I work at the front desk, whether working with housekeeping or working with our engineering team, because there's always things going on in the background that you are not aware of. It's easy to sell, but you've got to service what you've sold. And being able to provide that information to your guests and being able to accommodate the requests of your guests as well, I think is important. So, honestly, there are a lot of great opportunities to start. I will say be patient. Don't think overnight you're going to become a sales manager or a director of sales and marketing. It does take time. So take that step and look at your journey and see how you want to go. It's always out there. I would say with IHG Academy, I know for our hotel, we partner with a lot of the colleges in the Toronto area, and we do take internships. So we have people from these colleges that intern at our hotel, do their internship at the hotels, and have been able to they got hired when they were done their internship. So, take advantage of the internships that's out there, and you get to experience that department that you were thinking about when you do your internship. So that's what I would suggest, try different departments before you really settle in there, because some people have come to sales and realized they don't like sales. They like the operations side of it, whilst you have the others who start in operations and move over to sales. So yeah, it all depends on your personal journey.
Excellent. Thank you so much. All right, so we're going to actually wrap up our webinar right now. Big thank you so much to Jeff and Carice for this insightful and very interesting presentation. We really appreciate you joining us today. This webinar was recorded, and you should be receiving a link to the recording in the next few days. And that's it. Thanks so much. We'll see you all soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lila. Thanks, Carice. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.